This guy was on a $75,000 capital murder bond. It was just like March 10th.
What's the
And then
name?
he gets served Daniel Leyva.
Oh, yeah.
But then he's also charged with a robbery. But they said the robbery occurred a day before he bonded out. So I'm like, unless you masterminded it from behind.
Okay. Everyone know? Wow, we're used to hearing this bad music play. I didn't hear the bad music, so I'm going to go ahead and start. It's Tuesday, 3 p.m. on Tuesday. We all know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. Introduce yourself, man.
I'm waiting for the music, but hold on. I'm hearing the music in my head.
In your head.
Now we're doing Anti-Crime Director Services, Crime Stoppers of Houston, and promoting, of course, no bond costs.
Of course you are. We are going to talk today about, you'll recall last Wednesday, right? Last Wednesday at Harris County Commissioner's Court, there's been this big push by some elected officials to sort of mandate that bail bonding companies must only do 10% of a bond amount before someone is released from jail. Now, there's no law that ever required that. That's just kind of been sort of the standard operating procedure. Joining us is Mario Garza. He's president of the Harris County Bail Bonding Board. What did you were there last week. Let's get your take on it.
You're actually on the board now.
That's right.
Yes, I'm actually the bail bond's been represented.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations.
got elected that morning and walked into the fire.
You did. Welcome to the job. Did you say, oh, what did I do?
In the audience, I was there, Randy Wallace was there, and you're going, are all meetings like this?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at it from, this is what it looks like sitting here. Looking out. So there I am. My take was the 10% and their proposal, it's a distraction. Ed Gonzalez made a point of his analysis that he did of bonding companies, found that a majority of us pay 8 to 10%.
And we've heard that before. That came up recently from somebody else saying the same thing. I mean, there might be a few what you would call bad actors in your business, but the majority of bail bonding companies, it's 8 to 10%.
Yes, on average. What's interesting is that they keep talking about a place to start to stop this crime. Well, I think the good place to start is the legislation that's already coming into play. That's an actual good place.
Let's take everybody through this because we're making assumptions here. So let's just say I'm charged with murder. I should be charged with a lot of things.
True.
Murder. Let's just say I'm charged and they give me a $75,000 bond. What happens? All right, and I say I'd like to go out and make a bond. What happened? How does this all start?
Well, we get a phone call. Say, Andy Kahn's been a bad boy. And, I'm his mother. And, his dad's got some money. We want to get him out, but we need to know how this works. Okay, well, I ask him, well, what's Andy's name? Let me look it up. I noticed that, Andy's got, a few little skirmishes, but nothing major.
So you would do a criminal history check.
Run your name,
Okay.
See what the charge is, see what the bond is. Because that factors into my assessment.
Sure.
Is it murder? Is it robbery? Is it just a multiple, you've been in trouble?
Property crimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything
And
like
it could
that.
also tell you if he had been on bond before, did he go to court?
And oftentimes we're seeing that.
Yeah.
I'm clicking and I'm going, oh man, this guy's already out on something else. So that factors into my risk assessment because I'm going, when is the judge going to revoke that other one? After I bonded. So let's just stick with the 75,000. They call, they say 75,000. Okay, I'll tell you what. Get me mom, dad, and grandma because I may ask for collateral, but usually people don't have it. So I'll just say, okay, mom, dad, and grandma, you guys come on down. Sign for Andy. It's 10%. They say, well, we don't have the whole 10%. Okay, well, how much are you working with? How much you got? Well, we got 5. Okay, I'll tell you what. Bring me the 5. And we'll set you up on a payment arrangement. It's all documented. It's all laid out, times, dates. We go to their affordability, like what can you afford every month? And when are your pay dates?
Why is it so important to have family members involved in this process?
In lieu of collateral, we try to keep the defendant honest. We try to make sure that, if they're gonna burn anybody, they're burning mom, dad, and grandma.
Sure.
So we try to keep them in that
Yeah.
situation and not only that, those are the first people that are gonna call because they've got eyes on the defendant.
Right.
Either the defendant usually lives with them, he lives near them, but usually in the vicinity of, hey, I haven't talked to him in 2 days and I need to know what's going on.
So, okay, so let's move to the next. So you decide you're gonna go ahead and take the case. And then you go down and you file paperwork, right?
I've submitted a bond.
All right, so now, they let me out. What happens now? Do I see you or?
Yes, you report to my office within 48 hours. You come in, you do all the paperwork that your parents and your grandma did. We explain the rules. You're gonna have to check on a bond that size. You're gonna have to come sign in weekly. There's a book. You come in, you sign in. I got to see you once a week
Why is that so important?
because there is no. The body is kind of the collateral.
Yeah.
In the way I look at it.
Sure.
I want to make sure you didn't leave town. And if they got to work, we work. With
How
them.
do you keep up with, people who have to come and check in with you?
We have our files. We have a working list. We add them to that list. There's a book that they come in. It's alphabetized. They put their signature, their date, their phone number, and when their next court date is. We want to make sure that they're aware of their next court date.
I mean, you of all people want to make sure that Andy or whoever shows up in court when they're supposed to be in court.
So we make them aware that they got to follow these rules. If something comes up, like, hey, you had to work late, we're flexible.
Yeah.
Because we understand life happens. If you got to go out of town to work, because there's a lot of people that work in construction and things of that sort. Okay, how long are you going to be gone? I'm going to be gone 2 weeks. Okay, I need to know where you're staying. I need to give you some type of travel letter. So if you happen to get pulled over anywhere, they know that your parking company knows that you're not, that you're out of town.
Right.
We also prefer that they get in touch with the judge or have their attorney explain to the court. We try to tie up all these ends so that the defendant is out of town the way he's supposed to be. But more than anything, just they check in, they do paperwork, and they go to court.
Do the persons over, let's just say I'm out on bond, and would they, a condition of bond, particularly if a murder defender, is they're going to want to have some sort of GPS? All right, who's responsible for that?
We have choices. Either the court can do it. They're not real consistent on that. The bondsman can do it. We can contract with an outside company.
I mean, a lot of times, the court orders the defendant to go do it, right? I mean, it's like they would say, hey, okay, Andy, go down to pretrial services, which in itself just seems a little weird. Don't you agree that it's like, well, we're leaving it up to him to go get this tracking device?
They didn't used to do that before.
Right.
They used to fit them with the monitor before, mostly. Now, if you went through an outside company, like a bondsman who went through it, you would obviously report after you got out.
Yeah.
But the court themselves would often do it before. It just makes sense. Once this guy's out, he could go off the radar, and how are you going to put him on?
And is somebody at pretrial services actually monitoring him all the time?
To be honest, I don't even know how that works on the inside. What I do know is that you see multiple violations.
Right.
You guys have seen, so the answer to that would, just by all the violations, I would think no.
And what we've seen too is a lag time, right?
Yes.
He may have, I love using him as the bad example.
Yes. No, absolutely.
He may have violated his monitoring device multiple times, but the court's not even going to know about that. Sometimes what, for a month?
Well, the story we did last week.
Yes.
It was a month before they took action.
There's a specific story within the last month where the defendant was killed in a motel on the Northwest Freeway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He was my defendant.
Really?
He got into an argument with his father. He was living with dad. That's why we did the bond. Dad said, he's moving in my house. He's living with me.
And you reported it to the court.
And we filed a surrender stating our reasons that basically cut the monitor off. He told dad he wasn't going to court, and he said he wasn't going out without a fight. Issued that surrender. They kind of dragged their heels on it. They were like, well, we'll just wait for him to come into court and we'll take him in. That's not till next month.
We've seen that a few times now, haven't we? It's like the judge will say, well, let's just get him in here and we'll have a talking to. Well, they don't come back.
What I was concerned with was he was already on bond for murder. He has weapons. This is a guy that's somebody could just cut him off in traffic and he'd shoot him.
Yeah.
That's what my fear was, which is why when we explained to them what this guy had done, what he had told his dad, they called back 20 minutes later and said, we're walking into the judge right now. So in that sense, I was proactive.
Right.
But the court also worked with me. That's how it's supposed to work. Now, we can't guarantee that every defendant's going to follow the rules, but when we know it, we act on it.
Right.
And that's what we did. And that's the way the system is supposed to work. It's not perfect.
And also, too, you're working with pretrial services, the courts. I mean, it's sort of a 9 to 5 kind of we're open Monday through Friday, right? I mean, but things happen.
Had that happened on after hours, I would have had to wait till the morning.
Right.
So let's just say, go back to the hypothetical where I'm out on bond.
Sure.
And I'm checking in with you guys. All of a sudden, I don't check in. What's your next step?
You get a phone call. We start calling references. We start calling family. Hey, he hasn't checked in. Where's he at? What's going on? Oh, well, I talk to defendants lie. They tell their family they're checking in when they're really not.
Right.
We tell them, hey, he hasn't checked in 2 weeks. Well, he told me he was on his way. Well, he's not. He didn't come.
And that could make a difference, right? If you're telling dad or you're telling grandma, hey, he's telling you that, but that's not true, then they can get on Andy's tail and say, hey, you better act right.
Well, here's another caveat of that, is that if they're on a payment plan and they're short on money, what are they going to do? If they can't pay you, they're not going to check in.
Right.
If they're on a payment plan, I usually try to align that time with, well, when you come check in, make your payment as well. So you don't got to make 2 trips. It's convenient. But when they stop checking in because they owe you, and that's when I have a talk and go, look, I understand if you don't have it all, but come in with something. If you owe me $200 a week, come in with $100. And you make the effort, and I'll still work with you. And you're checking in, and that gives me more comfort, and I'm less worried because I'm still seeing them. And a lot of times people are just scared, like, oh my God, the bond is going to throw me in jail. So they don't ask you.
Right.
They don't work it out. There's just some people that don't have those problem-solving skills. But in that situation, like you said, by not checking in, I will call your family.
Okay, so what happens if they say, we don't know where he is?
Well, then I'm like, you better find out where he's at.
Yeah.
You better.
You're going to be out some money.
Yeah, you better tell me what's going on and I give it a couple of days.
Yeah.
I don't panic right off. Then the defendant will call and say, hey, I heard you're looking for me. Yeah, we're looking for you. What's going on? What's the problem? Well, and it's always some kind of story, obviously. But when you hear too many stories, like I'll give you 1 or 2. Andy calls and says, hey, you know what? I just forgot. Okay, Andy, we noticed you've been checking in timely for the last 3 months. You get 1 pass. So,
Yeah, sure.
but then when you're hearing it every week, I had to stay, I got my car broke down, and I couldn't get a ride.
My dog ate it.
It just starts to, starts to snowball.
Right.
Then I get concerned. Then I tighten restrictions. Then I say, now I want to see you twice a week.
Well, you look at these people real closely from the beginning, don't you, as far as what kind of criminal history does Andy have? Has Andy been on bond before? Did Andy violate his bond before? Correct?
Right, and you literally have parents who will say things like, I'm not bonding him. Now, if your mom and dad and grandma won't sign for you, you've had to pretty screw up.
Yeah.
Pretty badly.
Right.
Oh, no, my girlfriend that I've known for 6 months will sign for me. That's not a co-signer. What if y'all, and we get this a lot, they break up. She's calling the office going, I'm not with him anymore.
Yeah.
I want to be off the bond. It's not that simple.
So for so many years, you guys have kind of been under the radar. It's just, it's a business, it's an industry. No one's really paying much attention because it's just part of the criminal justice system. You're part of the system that we're on. And all of a sudden, you got increasing crime rates, and all of a sudden you find yourself, your industry thrust into this spotlight through, frankly, no fault of your own.
Right.
But all of a sudden, you're getting all these eyes looking upon the bail bond industry and kind of making them as one of the factors as to why crime is increasing. I mean, you saw all this going down. I mean, what was your initial reaction? Because I was like, no, that's a red herring. It's you're casting blame where blame really doesn't belong, but I get the fact that you're looking for somebody to blame.
When our politics as of nowadays, it doesn't even have to be true. It just has to sound good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Or it's the old, don't look at me, look over there.
And what's, by going to your meetings, Andy, what's,
No, like I said, I commended you at Commissioner's Court
no, you did, thank
for
you.
doing
Thank
that,
you.
and I applaud you because you've been coming to Parents of Murdered Children meeting way before anybody decided to make the bail bond industry the focal point of increasing crime rates.
What showed that I'm obviously multidimensional, I'm trying to learn. I don't perceive to know all the answers, but what's most disgusting is that you take all these victims and you take their anger and their frustration and their pain and you use it, like an Adrian Garcia, to get something done that's not going to solve what these people, they're desperate, so they're reaching for any answer, but it's not the right one. And you're wasting time because more people are dying. And that's what upsets me the most. Hey, you know what? I'm all about compromises. We can work out something, but to just bash us and never have given us the opportunity to have input. And this goes back to O'Donnell because I spoke in Commissioner's Court in 2019. This was before COVID. And I mean, come on, common sense tells you this lacks accountability.
Right.
That's all it ever was.
So the federal court order basically erased half of your business.
Right.
Yeah,
More.
right.
But here's what I knew going in because of what I've been doing for 14 years. Here's what I knew, and this is what I told bondsmen. The system will break under its own weight.
Yeah,
Why? Because when you deal with a criminal mentality for so long, they don't learn on their own. They're not going to just get out and reform themselves.
right.
This is not reform. There is no reform in this. The real reform is when you attack criminal behavior and you go, why is it that you do that? Are you an alcoholic? Are you a drug addict? Were you abused at home? What's going on? That's reform. There's no reform in this. This is just a word used to make reform. To me is good change. There's no good change here.
Right, and as we've talked about before, a woman by the name of Miranda O'Donnell is sort of the picture or the poster child behind misdemeanor reform. And if you look at this woman on paper, she's a train wreck.
But don't look because we have to do that story.
That's right.
Ignore, as I say,
I'm tipping my hand.
The jury will strike from the record what we just said there right now.
But, and you said this a moment ago, and it's true. It's sort of become this, you have judges that, I don't have it, I can't, I have to let everybody out. I don't have any discretion. That's the game they're playing. And you and I both know that's not true, is it?
Well, no, and it's funny that you bring that up because Whitmire at a town hall said to the judges who said that, he got up on the mic and he said, well, if that's your take on it, then we might as well just all go home.
Right.
If this is, my hands are tied, which is what they said, my hands are tied.
Yeah.
That's not true because the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals opinion that was issued made no such ruling. In matter of fact, it said that defendants do not have a right to be free from a wealth-based detention, meaning they don't have a right to affordable bail. The only thing they had a right to under O'Donnell was to have a hearing at 48 hours and to plead their case of indigence or whatever it may be, and the judge to weigh their crime with whether or not they qualify for that kind of bond. That was it.
And look how many times we have seen capital murder defendants walk out when the Constitution says, right, if you're charged with capital murder, you can be denied bond. How many capital murder defendants
Over
walk?
110.
There you go.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. Let's just say at the bail board bond meeting Wednesday, let's just say if it would have passed, what seriously would it have done to crime? Would it have done anything?
No.
Seriously, what would it have done? It's a feel-good measure.
It's an experiment.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. It's a feel-good.
Or it's a look at what we've done to combat crime, but it's not going to combat crime.
But isn't that ironic that we got a legislative law going into effect that's going to solve all that, and you're still attacking 10%, which is not going to do anything. In a matter of weeks, you're going to have a law that's going to help you do exactly what you say you're trying to do: stop murder. This is that long road that we're at the end of.
Right.
You've got the answer laying right in the palm of your hand, and you're still looking for somebody to blame. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Unless you're running for office.
Well, of course, I wouldn't know anything about that, right? I mean,
No,
You know?
that's true. I
Right.
mean, yeah.
Oh, no, let me just, point this out. I identify as a modern Democrat. So to watch what the party has become is it makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because you're selling people because they don't know any better. They don't know how to read Fifth Circuit opinions. They don't know all that legal mumbo jumbo.
Right.
But when guys like me explain it, they don't know where it originated from. They don't know about O'Donnell. They don't realize that this all was coming at them. Kim Ogg's own 60-page report lays it all out in numbers, ugly numbers, 500% recidivism.
Yeah.
We have 51,000 active warrants. 25,000 of those are felonies. What's the reoffense rate within 1 year? 95%. 119% within 6 months. 139% within 90 days.
It's crazy.
So we hear everybody, particularly some of the county officials, that were really promoting PR, personal recognizance bonds. That's what they originally wanted most people out.
Right.
What's the difference between a PR bond and a cash bond for your?
Okay, and a PR bond is a signature. The defendant basically signs a bond and promises to return.
Yeah.
Nobody signs.
No money at all.
No money, no mama, no daddy, nobody. As a matter of fact, what you find is that the families don't even know they were released on anything. For instance, if a mother gets assaulted by her son and he gets back out, he's standing on her porch 24 hours later going, I'm back. Caitlin Guajardo, since we're talking about 10%, is an example of that's got nothing to do with a bondsman. She was killed specifically by a PR bond. Remember the phone calls that used to go out to victims, the automated call when they made bail? Why did they do away with it?
Yeah, right.
When a domestic violence victim, the person made bond, they got a call that warned them. Why did they do away with it? I never understood that. That can only help.
That was life-saving.
Because people knew, hey, I got hours to get my stuff and get out of here.
Right, yeah. At least you had a warning.
Why would you do away with that?
Makes
If
no sense.
you're not coddling criminals.
So what do you expect to happen next? It's my understanding that they're going to try to bring this up again next month.
Yes.
And, I mean, there was, I'm sure you saw, there appeared to be at least media-driven outrage,
Yes.
and particularly from the victims' families, and some that I spoke with and told them the real avenue from our perspective is to seek legislative initiative if you're going to do this. And I don't have any real problems with it, and I get, the intent of all this. But so next month, you're going to be basically right back in the hot seat again.
Yes.
And more than likely, even if it passed, well, I think Adrian Garcia and a couple other people admitted, we know there's going to be a court challenge. Well, it's sort of, I can understand the idea of, okay, let's, we'll roll the dice. But when you go in sort of knowing that it's not really going to fly, or it's not legally, it's not going to stand, then you start wondering, well, why are we spending all this time and energy trying to make it happen when more than likely an appeals court will throw it out?
Right, because you can't enact a local rule at the local level.
Right.
And expect it to survive the legal muster.
Well, I think it was Ken Good. He made the best remark. He said, "You're basically saying that you're allowing us to do price gouging."
It's price fixing.
Yeah, price fixing. Yeah,
Right.
Price fixing.
Right. Here's the interesting thing. The county attorney wrote an opinion of his own. Well, I don't know if you remember this, Andy, but I made a motion to have the DA's office request an attorney general opinion.
Yeah.
Just so that we could know what kind of solid ground we're on before we do this. I mean, that would be the most responsible
Right.
thing.
In other words, what was the rush to get this?
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe that the political grandstanding took over more than the idea of, let's wait and see. Let's make sure that this is something we really can do.
Yeah.
Why should the county spend money getting sued for something they could have stayed ahead of?
Well, we just came out of a primary where, some judges didn't fare too well, and it was.
So, like it or not, you guys have been thrust into this election cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are.
Right.
And I'm engaging it.
Yeah.
I'm engaging it in that this issue is a nonpartisan issue.
Right.
whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we all want to be safe.
Yeah.
And I think if that's, for lack of a better word, that's the beauty of the issue, is that it's one issue that we, for all the issues out there, this is the one issue we can actually all come together and go, you know what? I don't want you to be dead, Mr. Republican.
Yeah.
That remains to be seen if we truly can.
But you're so right. We all want the same thing. We don't want to live in a crime-ridden community where we're scared to walk outside. Nobody wants that.
Well, where these Adrian Garcia and Lena Hidalgo and Rodney, the boomerang that they never anticipated was the very people that they proposed to help with O'Donnell, which are black and brown people, are the very people that are being victimized.
Yes.
They never saw it coming. And now that it's blown up, now let's look for someone to blame.
And another thing too, and we've talked about this before, like these young defendants that you're letting them out and they pick up charge. And it's like you're putting them in this big, huge hole that they'll never get out of. You're not saving them. You're basically burying them under multiple felony charges, right?
Right. I likened it sometimes to programs like LBJ. At what point does a program, they have a bad history with me doing it this time?
Kind of like you as a reporter, I'm sick and tired of talking
Right.
to you. I'm gonna find someone else that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Hey, we got to wrap this up. This has been fascinating. Mario, thank you so much. We're going to have this guy back.
Yes, we are.
Definitely.
Thank
We
you for
definitely
having
are. Thanks for watching, everyone, and be sure to watch Breaking Bond tonight at 9. Thank you.